Can you hear me, Mike?
Hey, yep. Can you hear me?
I can, and I can see you, but I don't see myself. Do you see me?
Negative. How about join video? You got a join video icon there down the bottom.
Yep, I got it.
Hey, I thought you were an expert at this.
No, not Zoom. We use Google Hangouts.
Oh, okay.
I've joined a lot of Zoom meetings, but I've not created one and played around with it a lot.
Well, I'm going to try something new today, Eric, sharing some of the sheets that I emailed out. So hoping to bring your budget sheets up on the screen.
Yeah, I found that feature the last time I was in, accidentally. I was in an Educare governance board meeting. And I thought share screen meant I could do some work on the side. And what it really meant was you bring a document up for everybody to read. They all told me pretty quickly they were reading my document.
All right. As long as it wasn't Playboy or something.
No.
Oh, okay.
Like that?
Like, yeah. So yeah, we're going to try that today. Sarah's given me a tutorial, so I think I'm going to be okay.
It's actually a very good tool.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I saw the guy at DOT do it, and it was so helpful to be able to actually see the items he was talking about. Of course, in something that's got a road design, that you got to have a visual.
I saw Dave Boardman, because Dave teaches using virtual classroom, so he's amazingly good and experienced with it. But
I bet
he did a lesson for his fellow MMTC staffers on how to use virtual meetings, classrooms. It was amazing what he could do, what he could show on his computer. I couldn't follow it. He was going so fast, I couldn't follow it.
Yeah. Hey, Aaron.
Morning,
Hey,
Eric.
Eric. Hi, Mike.
You got your audio. You got your audio.
I got my audio.
All right. Your people, Joan and Pam.
They're all ready. Paula's just finishing up a project. She said she might join just a little late.
Okay, good. Good. Get your trees cut yesterday, Eric?
I did.
Uh-huh.
I had a great afternoon.
Yeah, the bugs out though?
Depends on what part of the land you're on, but yeah, down where I was cutting, they were out. Up top,
Okay.
my house is, there's enough breeze to keep them away.
Hi.
Hey. Hi,
Hey,
Joan.
Joan.
We can hear you,
Yes.
but we can't see you.
You can't. Maybe I didn't turn the camera on. Maybe that was on purpose.
Well, there's a video icon too, Joan, at the bottom.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm finding it. Here it is.
Oh, okay.
You should see me now.
Yep.
You're on.
Thank you.
Actually, Eric, I didn't tell you, but I'm in Alaska because the Aurora Borealis was out this week, so I wanted to see it for myself.
Oh, yeah. You learned how to use that background thing.
Correct.
And are you fly fishing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. You know what that background thing is, Joan?
Where?
It's the up arrow right next to the icon that says stop video. There's an up arrow.
Oh, yeah, I
there.
see it.
You could have the San Francisco Bay Bridge as your backdrop.
Choose
if you want.
virtual background.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Choose virtual
Hey,
background.
Pam.
How are you?
Good. Thanks.
And I'm gonna go with how about a green screen? Because I don't know how you can find your own. How'd you find your background?
How did I find it?
Yeah, it says
you
choose
click-
virtual background. Oh, I
If
see.
you
Wait.
click on that, it gives you five, I think
Yeah,
five.
it does.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, I didn't get that.
How about the
Uh,
palm? You see the palm trees?
No, but I'm looking. Hang on. I gotta get out of what I'm in. This is my bad vision acting up. I can't see much of anything.
Yeah.
No, I don't want that. I'm gonna stop playing around and be serious here.
Well, I'm hoping the rest of the city crew shows up. Oh, I saw Sydney earlier. Sydney, hi Sid, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Here he is.
It's just Paula. I'll go remind her she's got a meeting.
Okay, 511. Okay.
Hey, Sydney.
How you doing?
Good.
Sid, I told Eric earlier we're going to try a file share experiment this afternoon. So I think with Sarah's help, I've been able to figure out how to get the two budget sheets that Eric Paula sent up on the screen for people to see while we're talking.
No, that'd be interesting.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna leave and come back because something went terribly wrong. So I'll be back.
Okay. Hey, Eric.
Mike,
Hey, did Rick Foss find you today?
he did not. He was already on his way south by the time I talked to him.
Okay. I suggested that he stop at Natanis, but I don't know if he did.
No, actually, I've been having a problem with my printer, and I just got a part in from China, so I was dealing with that all morning.
Wuhan?
Yeah, I can see why you would deal with that all morning with a part from China.
I had him send the virus straight to me,
Yeah.
discounted.
Hi, Mike.
Hello, hello,
Hey, Mike.
Oh,
Michael.
As far as I know, we're expecting Nick. Anybody heard any different?
I haven't.
Aaron, I wore this shirt for you, my friend.
Sweet. I love Anthrax.
Better,
Get a,
better than
Mike's got a whole slew of them.
Icon down the bottom.
Mike, how many do you have?
How many what?
There you go. See, that one's got the red mark through it.
Rock t-shirts you have.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
You know what?
really want my
Quite a
picture.
few.
I bet you do.
You know, I'll tell you, like, you know, so I've lost about 43 pounds thus far. So,
Wow.
you know, a lot of the shirts that I buy at shows are now fitting again that I haven't been able to wear in like forever. So it's pretty cool. I got a whole arsenal of, you know, now they're vintage, you know, shirts.
Yeah.
Can I have your leftovers now, Mike?
You sure? Well, I'm not buying any, so I'm like, you know.
I saw a bunch of stuff on Sammy Hagar, and then
Yeah.
someone said Sammy Hagar is 72.
Yeah,
72.
yeah,
It's like they don't age.
yeah.
No. That's what plastic surgery buys you.
Yeah.
It's almost as old as Eric.
Not
Taylor.
quite. Hey, I was in a 20-member superintendent conference call earlier this afternoon, and one of the superintendents said, well, I've been told that anyone that's 65 or older qualifies as having a dangerous condition for COVID and they can stay home from school. What are we going to do if everybody over 65 stays home from school? I said, I don't know. I'm probably going over and have coffee with them because that's where I'll be. They didn't get that at all.
Well, listen, the only place I used to go to see people older than me was church. And can't go there these days. So I never see anybody older than me. And the first thing my doctor said yesterday when I had a telephone meeting instead of in person was, I hope you're staying home. I may never go out again. And 72 sounds young to me, by the way.
By the way.
Hey, Eric, before we get started, Eric Haley, that is, now that we have two of them on here. Any talk about, I know with Camp Tracy and stuff opening, any talk of what the Mitchell School summer program might be able to do and have access to the Mitchell School for this summer?
Well, summer programming right now by state guidelines isn't to be in person. It's supposed to be virtual.
Well, how is Camp Tracy doing it? Are they doing a virtual camp?
Not a public school. So this education department doesn't make the decision. We have to follow the Department of Education.
Okay.
There was the article in today's paper about sports starting in July, and I don't know how that could possibly happen either. Of course, it was all written by Maine Principals Association, but I don't know how they can null and void state guidelines. And a lot of what they were talking about seemed to be in violation of state guidelines.
And if the state guidelines something that would get looked at, given the fact that school's typically not in session anyway, so no one's really looking at the fact that, they run a childcare out of there. So it's like no one's really advocating for it.
The amount of funding we get from the state as a community, Waterville's public schools, you think it's a risk we should try? And we get most of our funding comes from the state. So it would be a big slap on us if we were punished because we didn't follow the guidelines.
No, what I'm saying is whether the guidelines are being looked at because it's summer and, whether or not, like it's great. They say, oh, we're not going to open till, the fall or whatever, but, not taking into consideration the fact that, schools utilize, the buildings for other things throughout the summer. No one has to look at guidelines because there's no school in session. I have to make a decision on guidelines for school because school is not in session. However, we have, a unique circumstance in which, an entity operates out of a school and, serves a large portion of the, the community. And I think based on the school could segregate and keep kids, at a reasonable distance. But no one's going to look at it because, school's not in session and we'll just keep going as we go.
It's my understanding, though, that daycares have been allowed to be open all along.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like daycares are able to open, but because this one operates out of a school, and services, a fair amount of the, kids, a fair amount of kids.
My point is, though, if it's a daycare, why isn't it coming under daycare rules?
Hey, that's a fantastic question.
Somebody
Well,
might
actually,
want
there
to
is-
ask that of somebody with authority.
There is discussion about daycare opening up. But you're right, that's a different set of rules, guidelines, and they're extensive.
And
Educators opening up.
all the rules are being constantly reviewed. And in his briefing today, Dr. Shaw said, basically, if you have an idea or something that you think you can do safely, tell us about it. They are welcome to hear input from people.
Mm-hmm.
I just sent Nick a message. And he already responded. I guess he's looking for the link. I will send him the link so he can get on. So if we can just hang on another minute. Or Sarah, you're listening in. Will you send Nick the link for today's meeting? here we go.
Yep, will do. Just 1 minute.
Thanks, Sarah. So with Sarah's help, I was going to try an experiment today in terms of putting up on the screen some of the information that we sent out to you. So let's see if this works.
Nick seems to
I'm
be,
here, Mike.
Hey, Nick.
no video, just audio. Nick, I don't know that your camera's on.
I don't know. I don't know if you want to see me driving in my car while we meet.
Oh, no, you probably don't. Probably not.
Not my first rodeo on this one. I'll be at my stop soon.
Now, can all of you see the agenda for today?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So I don't need to leave that on any longer. But Eric, we had you folks scheduled to go up first. I've got your budget sheets here, so if I can get those on the screen. All right, so
Hey, Nick.
it would help, Eric, if you want to talk while these are up on the screen.
Sure.
All right. Hey, Nick.
Just so you know, they're not up on the screen.
No.
Yeah, okay.
The thing is, we all have them. I don't know that they need to be on the screen.
Hey, okay, yep,
mean-
that's what I need to hear from people.
Unless other
Okay.
people don't have another way of looking at them. There's no way I can see them on the screen from where I'm sitting, but I can. see
Right.
them on my iPad.
Exactly. People want them on the screen or not? Or
Sure,
okay?
yeah. Yeah, put them
Yes,
up.
put them
Yes.
up. Okay, here I'm gonna try.
Those of you with young eyes, I'm gonna look at my iPad.
Yeah.
All right, let's try this one more time, then I'm gonna give up.
At the time you figure out all this technology, it'll be time to retire, Mike.
Just about right. And we even rehearsed this earlier today. Well, what is this? Anything?
There it is. Yeah.
The school budget sheet?
We're just seeing your email, Mike.
How about this?
Nope, still just.
That's the email.
Oh, I've got it up on my screen.
Those are vacation pictures.
Now? No?
Mike, do you have two monitors, Mike?
Yeah.
Drag it to your other monitor.
Mike, do you still have the files open that we dragged onto your desktop?
Maybe.
So when you go to share screen, you'll just want to click those documents individually instead of the Outlook.
Yeah, that's what I did, Sarah.
It worked for a second and then it cut out.
Huh. Well, I just clicked it again.
Okay.
Is that there?
No, you're still in your email.
Still showing the email. Okay, and probably going to give up on this. People have theirs. Okay. This one, let me just ask people if this one comes on. Can you see this one?
I'm seeing the email.
But not the,
Mike's got digital backgrounds, but he can't show us the spreadsheets.
Make the spreadsheet your background, Mike.
Mike, Mike, at the top of my screen, there's a thing that says see attachments.
yeah. Where is that damn attachment? All right, I give up.
What if you clicked on the see attachment one?
Well, I can't do it from my screen.
Like, yeah, you'll want to redo the screen share thing because you shared Outlook initially. So now whatever you click on, we're just going to see your Outlook email. You'll need to click on the individual documents and try it again. So if you end screen share and then do it again and click the Excel spreadsheet, hopefully that should do it.
How about that? No? No.
You ended it. So now you want to click share screen again and click the Excel spreadsheet you want to share. It's not Outlook. Perfect.
Yeah, you got it there.
All right. It's all yours, Eric.
Okay, this is the summary expenditure sheet, and it lays it out by cost center. We've broken Waterville Public Schools into all of these cost centers. And it compares it from 2015-16 through what we're budgeting, what we have budgeted for 2021. So if you look at the first row, and poor special services, they happen to come first. So I always use them as an example. You can see that their budget back in 2015-16 was $3,733,145. You can see what it's increased over the years to the point where in 2021, they're asking for a budget of $5,216,817. Then there's a difference. How much is that increased or decreased from the previous year? And then what percentage that is. So you can follow all the cost centers down. There are a few of them, and unless you're in education, you probably wouldn't know what it stands for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down is a cost center called ELL. That's English Language Learners. It's a relatively small budget because we have relatively few ELL learners right now, but we do also get reimbursed from the state for our ELL. They're part of our financial reimbursement plan. Then you see at the very bottom that our whole budget has increased, our request has increased $843,647.26, which is a 3.39% increase. Now, if you can flip to the revenue side, Mike. There you go.
There you go.
Okay, all right.
So if you look at the total request row up at the very top, you'll see that our budget I'm gonna look at my sheet because my eyes are getting like Jones, I guess. 26,746, 170, 7546 is our total request. You still see the 3.39% increase. And then you see all of those revenue sources that we plug in annually to offset our expenditure side. And we roll down that 2020-21, looking at where our revenues, where we think they're going to be. And notice in surplus carryover, we've included 160,000, the same amount that we included in the 1920 budget. You roll down to the bottom, and that tells you what we're going to bring in for total revenues. This is the sheet. Remember, I always draw your attention to that boxed in number on the lower right-hand side of the screen. That's the number of increase or decrease of local taxes that this budget will ask for. And because that number, 30,444.40 is in parentheses, that indicates it's a negative number. So even with a budget that is increasing by that amount of money, that some odd thousand, it's going to require 30,444.40 less in local taxes.
Well, that certainly is a great thing.
How concrete are the state numbers, Eric? Is there no chance that that changes? I mean, they're still expecting they have no idea what their shortfall is going to be. And I'm guessing everyone's kind of waiting for some sort of federal money to come in, which may or may not come in. So if that doesn't happen, is there any chance they're going to drop this state subsidy?
There's talk of curtailment, but that's talk. Almost every year there's some talk. It's a little more chattery this spring. According to Pender Macon, who's the Commissioner of Education, she doesn't see it happening next year. She predicts it would be, if anything, it would be the year after. I'm not sure I buy that, but we did take a curtailment back in 2008 during that recession. We lost about $80,000. So we're prepared for that. Obviously, we'd either have to cut expenditures or we would have to have something to fill that revenue gap with. So we are prepared for that. if it's not too big.
Are there things in the budget that, and I'm going to be asking the city the same thing, and that should things turn south fast, that could still be eliminated, that or things that, like, are you worried that any of the new positions will become unaffordable in the following year's budget?
Well, I worry about that every year, Nick, but no, not particularly.
Okay.
You know, one of the things that happens, well, there's several interesting, I don't know if you call them silver linings to this pandemic that we're in and what the situation is, but there are several lines in our budget that won't get fully expended, so that money could be reallocated. One of the ways that we were able to bring this budget down such that the request was going to be lower than last year's is we could buy out some things using this year's budget to buy out what was being budgeted for next year. And that helped us bring it, you know, I think the version before this was a request for 150,000 more in taxes. The board sent the administrative team back to the drawing board and said, do better. Come up with some recommendations that could get us to zero, and then we'll take a look at them and see whether we're happy with them or not. Well, we actually got it to -30, and the board approved those.
Okay.
But you know, I want to make this point before it comes out in some other fashion. Is we noticed that we don't call it a cut sheet anymore. We call it an adjustment sheet, because we got picked up on that last year. Because if you look at that sheet, and it's not provided here today, if you look at that sheet, the vast majority of it is cuts, but some of it is things like, okay, let's buy it this year because we got enough money left in this budget based on our projections, and take it out of next year's budget. And we were showing that as a cut, and it's not really a cut. You got the thing, whatever it is, textbooks or whatever. So we now call it an adjustment sheet. For instance, Mike, the school resource officer, you originally said 2/3. That's what you're expecting the school to put in, which I did. And then when you did a better analysis of it, you came back and said it's really 3/4. So if you were looking at that adjustment sheet, you would see a X number of dollars that we added for the school resource officer to take it from a 2/3 us paying to a 3/4.
Eric, have you been able to take care of the boilers? I know I bring that up. I think I've been bringing that up for 2 years, but like you, I also actually am concerned about that equipment, and I want to make sure that we address it before it's too late.
Thank you, Nick. We bring it up every year also.
I know you do.
We talk about it every budget session, every.
Yeah.
I have some very exciting news for the board about the boiler, and that's, I guess, where I'd like to release that information first. But yes,
Sure.
Nick, I do have a plan for that I think the board will like, and obviously I want to talk to them about it. But if they like the plan, that boiler at Mitchell School will be a new one by fall.
Great. That's
Great.
great to hear.
Eric, I know last year we really kind of lucked out with the insurance or the premiums and things, and no change in healthcare. Anything on that front at this point, or no?
We
Yeah,
have that all in. We're all,
got a huge savings.
Okay, good.
that's already been figured into the budget. We did, and we did fine. We did well, not zero like last year, of course,
Right.
but we were not unhappy.
Good,
And
good, good.
we did savings. We did a lot of savings on electricity this year. And then some savings in fuel. I mean, we had some good numbers. And to be honest with you guys, if you want to look at the real truth of the matter is, you know, we're getting a good, healthy percentage from the state subsidy. So Waterville has done very well with the state. And it's, you know, part of the thinking is it helps where we don't have to go, we can come down more with the city because the state, we did well with the state subsidy.
Great.
I think the other thing, well, I know the other thing that's going to help us, although we don't know how much yet, is that they're going to use the Title I formula for distributing COVID-19 monies. And that could be a serious amount of money for Waterville because we have such a high free and reduced, which is what the formula uses to determine your Title I funds.
Now, can everyone see this next page? I hope, please.
Not yet.
No,
Not yet?
Do you mean the final sheet?
There it is.
Yeah,
Yep.
don't see it. Okay. Well, let me try one more thing. New share. Let's see if that does it. Now? No?
yeah,
Yes.
Okay. Well, with Aaron's help today, we made some final changes to this for the counselors. You saw an earlier version of this. So if I can just start right up at the top, this number at the top, the 220,843, was the number you saw back in very early March, which means on the city side only at that point, the city side was asking for 220,000 less from taxation than last year or our current year budget. That was a pretty good scenario in early March. Of course, we know what's happened. So what we did, Aaron and I, was try to estimate a reasonable reduction in our vehicle excise. I mean, these two items here, state revenue and vehicle excise, are by far our two biggest revenue sources. So we cut vehicle excise almost 100,000, and with revenue sharing, almost 800,000. So deducting the 267 was from the amount that we expected to receive for next year, which is the reason that we got to 220,843 below budget, was because next year's revenue sharing was expected to be 800,000 more than our current year. So what we've done to date, and it may need to be adjusted, is we've gone back by eliminating 767 in our revenue sharing. Basically, we've gone back to the same amount of revenue sharing that we expect to receive this year. Now,
Is that reasonable?
that's the most important question. Is reasonable for us to expect we're going to get the same amount next year? How can you even propose that? Well, because our revenue sharing percent, as far as we know, is still going to be going up from 3.25 to 3.75.
Right.
So if that happens,
Bigger percentage of a smaller pie.
yep,
right.
smaller pie. So we reduced hours by 30%. This morning, I got the results of a survey that one of the city managers had done. He had about 15 responses. The average state revenue sharing reduction amongst the 15 towns that submitted responses was a 36% reduction. We're at 30%. Couple of towns bigger than us, Augusta being one. I'm not sure I remember the other one, had estimated surplus reduction even lower than 30%. So Nick, that's still a very good question.
Okay.
Very big question.
No, I appreciate the explanation of what you did, though.
The 112,000 that shows in red, I hope it shows in red on what you see, is the result of reductions, changes, corrections that we've made over the last 2 months with all the different departments. And you can see that total of 112 in the block below.
Mike,
Yeah,
so I see we eliminated the fee that we get from the schools for disposing of their waste, but we should also eliminate the cost of the tonnage. I assume it's basically a wash. So we should actually, I mean, we could almost just eliminate that line and assume that we're going to save that much in tipping fees.
I would
we
think.
could do that. I wish I had an idea just how much tonnage we get every day from the schools, but yeah, okay, Eric, that's a possibility. Aaron, if you can make a note of that going forward.
Or I mean, even
Okay.
if Mark wants to like if he has any way of ballparking it, I mean, I assume if the school got a quote of about that amount, so I'm assuming a private hauler figures that's what it's gonna cost them to get rid of it, you know.
Your quote,
I'm guessing.
Eric, was 17.
17.6,
Okay, very close. Yeah.
but
The other thing,
you're gonna pay the tonnage, right? The city side is gonna pay the tonnage for it.
I don't think so,
That's what you.
because that hauler, well, we don't even know where the hauler is bringing it.
What you had said to me, Mike, was if you pay that pickup and take care of, we'll pay the tonnage.
Geez, I don't remember that conversation, Eric. I guess you and I will have to talk about it one more time.
Well, wait, so to be clear, is the 17.6 just the cost of the dumpster, not including the tonnage?
Yep.
That was for the dumpsters and the trucking.
Where's the tonnage gonna go?
And what is the charge per ton?
Yeah, I would have never agreed to that because I wouldn't have known where it was going. The first thing I would have said is, if it's going to Norwich Walk, well, we have an existing contract, then I know what the per ton fee, but if he's going to the transfer station on the airport road, which is, I'm sure, where he's going, why would he go to Norwich Walk? I don't have any idea what the per ton fee there is. So I guess we need to have that conversation one more time, Eric.
What's the tonnage that you pay up in Norwich Walk, Mike?
What we pay at Norwich Walk for solid waste is 68 a ton. Of course, we transport it ourselves. There's no transport fee. That's the per ton disposal rate.
$68 a ton.
Yeah. And I don't know if Mark Turner was ever able to estimate the tonnage that we were picking up from the schools every day. It's really hard to know.
But you've budgeted, you must have budgeted for what you typically pay every year for tonnage.
We may
Yes.
have budgeted
It's still in
the
our budget.
exact,
It's still
we
in
may
the
have
budget.
budgeted the
That's what
exact tonnage.
That's what Eric just said. It's still in the budget. That's what Eric was
Your
just.
budget.
Right, because we haven't eliminated that cost out of our budget yet. So right now, the school's tonnage is still in our budget.
That's true.
So this guy's was getting to be a worse and worse deal for us every day with the resource officer and the tonnage and the trash. There's supposed to be a deal on the trash and the resource officer.
I understand. Here's the thing from my perspective. It really should be part of your budget. And I mean, ultimately, it's paid for by the taxpayers either way. But just to honestly and correctly reflect where the money is being spent, it should be in the school's budget.
That's
Now,
true.
right? I mean,
It's just less and less of the tax dollar goes towards the school every year. And that
We
was,
can't,
I mean,
and we carried the
most
school
of the tax-
resource.
most of our dollars to the schools comes from the state, let's be honest. Waterville's certainly not a big contributor in the schools, I mean, of the total budget. So less and less of our tax dollar goes to the schools every year. This is just another place where we either have to cut.
I'm just saying, honestly, either way, whether that money lives in your budget or in our budget, it comes from the same place.
Correct.
But I think to fairly reflect where the cost is coming from, it should live in your budget.
Mike, do you have any idea what the total city tonnage is per annum?
I'm gonna look while we continue talking, Eric, but right off the top of my head now, I don't.
I mean, let's just revisit the recent history, though. First, we were asked to pick up slightly more of the resource officer. Then that amount increased to, whoops, even more of the resource officer. And by the way, start lugging your own trash. And now for the very first time, we're hearing, oh, and by the way, pay the tonnage for the trash. You know, I think a case can be made that a police officer is really a municipal function, not a school function. I love that we have a resource officer. Please don't get me wrong. I think the resource officer does a super job, but I think a case could be made that things like picking up trash from anywhere in the city is a city thing. And a police officer is a police department thing. But we're going along. We said, okay, you want us to pay more of the resource officer? Okay, fine. We've jumped it up from 2/3 to 3/4, and yeah, we'll pay for the trash, all that. But you know,
Well,
money,
Again, if
Joan,
they-
hang on. To be fair, the school always had the school resource officer. When the budget got tight, you guys cut it, and because it was the right thing to do to keep the officer there, the city picked it up for those years.
Well, that's not quite exactly right, Nick, because when
That
the
is exactly right, actually.
no, because Dusty Woodside was our first school resource officer way back, and that was actually a grant that the police chief at the time applied for and got. So it was a city initiative, which we appreciated. And then that grant was paid full the first year, and then it went to 75%, then it went to 50%, and it went to 25%. And by the end of the fourth year, it was the expectation that the city would pick up the cost of that, of which the city did. And then as things got tighter and tighter, they kept asking us to pick up more of it, and we did. But originally, that wasn't an initiative that the school went after. That was an initiative that the police department went after and got through a grant.
I go back to, I'm just not sure what the money should live in the budget in which it is spent.
Well, right. It's like if the paper clips are being used in the assessing office, then that's where they get charged to. That's just basic accounting.
well, isn't the resource officer paid out of the police department, or is she listed as an employee of the school department?
No, she's listed as contracted service for the school department.
So she's paid actually out of the city.
Yes, that's right. Of course. She's a police officer for 1/4 of the year.
So following that logic, though, her salary should show up in the police budget.
Okay, so should we just pull her from the schools and
No,
have her do?
no, no.
and have her
We've
do-
had that conversation. We've actually had that conversation. Because, you know, it's true that we keep picking up more and more. We did it. We thought it was a deal with Mike that we were gonna pay 1/3 of the police officer, and then we were gonna take the trash back, and we were gonna do all these things, but then it was 1/3 to 3/4, and then, I mean, it seems that it's a position that the schools struggle with, and we don't feel, you know, it's not as much as we've enjoyed having it. It has been a conversation that we perhaps will have to cut the resource officer. So it's just to be out there and to be fair. Yes, we have had that conversation. So it's not going to be a shocker to us if that position is gone. We're not going to, you know, we've all had a conversation about it.
And frankly, I think that's your decision, which only, you know,
Sure.
cements the argument that lives in your budget.
Well, but I was speaking to the point of if you say an item should live in the budget that it is expended from, if that is true, the resource officer should live in the police department budget because that's where it's paid from.
Right, but you
That's all
should.
I'm saying.
but
And
then
that's it's supervised by the police. That's their boss. That's who they report to.
Right, but there should be a reimbursement from the school.
And
for-
sure, and that may well be so, but it shouldn't really then show up totally in I guess what I'm just saying is following the logic that something should be where it's spent from. It should be where it's spent from, and that's just one of those things.
Right, but so we would
don't
show,
even know.
we
We
would
don't
show,
even know how much money we're talking about right now. So I'm going to suggest that so that we can move on here, is that we let Mike and Eric figure out how much money we're talking about, and then let them talk about it so we know whether we're talking about a little thing of money or a lot thing of money.
So hang on, so you guys want, this is the biggest semantical argument. Like we're all sitting here bickering about whose lines they go on. Like, is your budget done, or is it as you want to present it or not?
Ours is, yes.
Okay.
All right, as we continue to go down through the budget, Eric, to get,
Mike, just to be clear, ours is done and it's had a first reading and was unanimously passed by the board.
right,
Perfect.
Not include tipping.
But you wait on the second reading until you get a yay or nay from the city council usually.
Yes, always.
I mean, it's
Can't-
not just you. This happens with all city departments, honestly, and this has been cleaned up over the years, where something that should really be an item in one department has sometimes shown up in another department just because that's the way it's done. When realistically, and Mike and Aaron, I think, have the last few years fixed some of those things. And that's really all I see it as. Like I said, ultimately, the money is coming from the same place.
Well, not exactly, because we get the bulk of our budget from the state. And when the city continues to cut back on what they're willing to pay for, pushing it onto our budget means we need to find that money either from the state or someplace else, because we don't have, everybody else is in the city budget as part of your budget. So it's not exactly apples and apples.
Eric, to get back to your early question about how much we deliver to Norwich Walk for tonnage every year, it's 1,900 tons a year we deliver to them. Okay,
Thank you.
so you and I can talk about that more
Yeah.
in terms of tonnage. All right, so going back up to the top block of that summary, you see the total of the changes, 112,390. You see the school request at negative 30,444. My budget originally had called for use of 210,000 and surplus. That's when the budget was submitted in early March. So that leaves us with an amount from taxation, including schools and city, of 292,240. I think the sentiment has been expressed by a number of counselors about going in with no more than a flat budget to our taxpayers, no increase in taxation, and maybe people will want to talk about something less. As a way of getting there to a flat budget, there are some items at the bottom of the sheet, and that is eliminating 2 of the new positions in the budget. There are only 2 proposed, one being dispatcher. Second, the shared position, Public Works, Parks and Rec, we're going to equally share this position. Eliminating both of those, as you can see, would be a savings of 122,000. Someone else has brought up the idea of delaying the $1 fee increase for the pay-as-you-throw. That would add 33 to the number. But what I'm suggesting to the council at this point is that whatever this bottom box amounts to minus the 292, whatever that difference is, we make up in use of surplus. And I think that we have enough surplus that if we use enough to make this 0 instead of 292, we're going to be at or just below our 12% policy limit. That is making some big assumptions. As Nick mentioned, this 767 and state revenue sharing, is that the right number? I don't know. I feel pretty confident about excise tax with the reduction that we've shown there. And I don't know of any other big X factors coming up for the budget. But I think that we can use surplus to get this number down to 0.
Mike, can you explain back up on the top under use of surplus? You've taken 210,000 out. Is that, am I reading this correctly? It's in red.
We're using, we would be using 210,000 of surplus on the city side of the surplus budget. So it would be a revenue, additional revenue.
Okay.
So That's why it's shown in red.
Is that a change from what you were originally proposing?
Nope,
So essentially, you're saying you'd use 500,000 in surplus.
Awesome, as much as 500,000. That number
Right.
it would be reduced if we eliminate some of the things below on that bottom. If we made some changes in the bottom section there, it would change the amount of surplus.
Right.
Well, Mike, what about the pool?
what about the pool?
We're gonna see some savings there if the pool doesn't open, right?
It's going to be our strong recommendation that the pool not open this summer.
So
Obviously,
we'll make up some money there, right? $25,000 or so that we usually lose on the pool.
that's one thing that Matt is
Do we lose that
working
much?
up right now.
I
Yes.
felt like we were a little closer to break even.
Yeah, I thought last year it was in around 16,000 that we lost. So it was getting close to even.
I guess either way, it's a savings.
I think the way it's we're budgeted to lose 25,000. That might not be actual, but that's how it's budgeted.
Right, so that'll save it in the budget.
Yep.
I thought Matt said at the budget meeting, there was a potential of $100,000 that could be saved by not opening it all this year.
Right, but we also don't get the revenue. So once you do take both. And if the pool were to open this summer, it would presumably be at a reduced capacity, which would mean an even bigger loss
Yeah.
than a regular year.
I have sentiment with that because it's definitely going to be, there's not going to be a lot going there.
And obviously, the pandemic is the first reason to close the pool. The other reason, which is pretty important, is after 20 years, the pool needs a lot of work. And this is the summer to do it. When it's going to be closed, this is the summer to do it. Otherwise, if we don't, we jeopardize next summer at the pool.
Well, that's going to have to be a discussion because when I stated, hey, I think it's probably not a good idea to put $1 million pool slides and to build a water park that we can't sustain in the long term, we were being told that maximum the pool repair was going to be 1 to 1.5 million. That price tag is now what, Mike?
Well, it started out at 2.3 on the city side, but Nick, and you don't know this because we've been working on this right up to today. I'm hoping that the city side share for the pool renovation is at 1.5 and not 2.3.
Okay.
Yep.
Mike,
and we have
and then I think the other question that we'll have to ask is how many years before this comes up again, because we can't count on millions of grants down in the future. And I just worry about long-term sustainability of infrastructure on this kind of stuff.
And just so you know, Nick, part of the Alphon grant is that we have to guarantee that we'll bank $50,000 a year for long-term maintenance.
Wow.
So that is a requirement that we bank $50,000 a year from somewhere.
Now and that may change, Eric, because of the option that they've given us to install. The name won't mean much to anyone, but it's called the Murtha system with a pool, where essentially they're going to come in and put an entirely new lining into the pool. So not have to dig up and replace everything that's there, but actually build a new pool inside the existing pool. And with that approach, they're talking about a 40-year lifespan instead of a 20-year. And that's what we've gotten. We've gotten 20 years. It was built in 1999, year 2000. And this is the 20th year.
Mike, before we go further, do we still need the school people?
No, well.
I'm assuming they don't want to listen to us talk about the pool, but maybe I'm
right.
wrong.
Right. I think we're okay.
Well, part of the agenda was discussing a timeline for the budget presentation and adoption. And if it's going to concern us, I think we need to be part of the conversation.
Well, so
Yeah,
why don't we
thank
have
you.
that conversation and then we can talk about stuff that's just on the city side after we let them go.
Right. I don't really have a timeline to propose. We've basically been through all of the city departments except for the bond items. And I'm hoping that's in the next 2 weeks. And I think what's really important for us is to get through the month of May, see what our motor vehicle excise receipts are, see what our state revenue sharing payment is in May, see what the picture looks like at the state level on sales and income taxes. And so I wouldn't be in a rush to try to finally conclude the budget until later in June rather than earlier. But that's just my own.
I think we should wait till the last possible minute just in case things change.
The other thing
I
you should
agree.
know is that
Yeah.
the HEROES Act, which has just been introduced, will be voted on tomorrow in the House. Well, I'm sure we'll pass the House, go to the Senate, obviously to be negotiated. Part of that includes money for state and local municipalities. And I looked it up, knowing I was going to be at this meeting, that in that bill, there's 5 million for Waterville in 2020 and 2.5 million for Waterville in 2021, if that bill goes through. Just so you know.
Okay.
Wow.
I know. So they're giving, and 42 million for Kennebec County. So the county taxes won't go up. There's money in that bill for municipalities, all the towns, the state. In that it's called the HEROES Act. It will be voted on tomorrow. It will pass the House tomorrow, and it will go into negotiation with the Senate.
What is the state changed the deadline for municipal budgets, right, Mike?
Yes, they've allowed, well, especially for town meeting communities. We're not a town meeting town. But yes, they have allowed us to go beyond the July 1st date.
I mean, there's too many unknowns for us to take a final vote anytime soon. We need to wait and see how some of these other things play out, I think.
Yes.
Don't we all still have to live under the current year's budget though, until a new one's adopted?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's a constant. We'll usually wait until July anyways.
I swear we do this. I know it's been.
Well, and if we're not planning to, right now, the plan is to keep the mill rate flat. So it's not as though it's going to affect our revenues by delaying.
Yep.
Mike got lost in the ether. The other night, he was holding stuff up in front of him and he was just like, that part would just disappear. It's like when the people make mistakes of wearing green dresses on
On the
green
news?
outfits on TV and then they get photoshopped.
Yeah.
Well, if you're just going to talk about the pool, and if you aren't going to set a timeline, which I totally understand, I think I'm going away.
Thank you, guys.
I think
Good night, Joan.
yeah.
Bye, guys.
Appreciate the work on your
Thank
budget.
you.
Thanks.
Yeah, good luck with yours.
Thank you.
And just as a reminder to people still on, this is being live streamed. It is a public meeting.
Thanks
I
for the,
neglected to say that at the very, very beginning.
I knew.
You knew, yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, how to leave the meeting.
down in the lower right-hand corner. Eric.
Yeah, looks like, no, he's not gone yet. Don't worry, Eric, I'm not going to say anything about it.
Now he's going.
All right, good, good. Sydney, you still with us or not?
Yeah, so yeah.
Okay, I can get rid of this stop share. And then I'll have a, there we are, okay. Well, Sarah, the share thing worked mostly. I think I'll get better over time.
Yeah, good.
I
Good
think
that
it is
you-
a help.
Good that you.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're going to meet all the department heads. I won't take much time on this, but to talk about their spending current and making sure they really look at what they project it to be by June 30. Aaron, so having that sheet available as to where different departments are will be important for us to put up on the screen when we meet with them. Okay. Other questions I can answer on the budget prep?
I don't think so.
All right. Okay.
Um,
We are working full-time on the pool thing. I know Mike and Eric, Mike, you're on the pool committee along with Meg and Flavia. So we're spending a lot of time trying to finalize that in the hope that maybe we could get work done this summer, get the bulk of it done.
So Mike, just to recap, because I want, we just threw some numbers out there and I want to make sure that as we start talking about this, that we're accurate. So when I look back at the email that Matt had sent out from the company, and they said, they estimate that the Mertha pool, which I think was the, we thought was the best option just for longevity.
Right.
And overall cost maintenance and things of that nature. They came in with a price of 3.15 million.
Right.
Right. And as I understand, the Alphon was at a 2.3 donation. So that puts us at about what, 850?
Well, their 2.3 donation was based on a 4.6 project cost, which is what we told them last September in our application to the foundation. So I let them know about our reduction in costs, and they said they would consider a review where we're at with costs compared to what we asked for when we submitted our grant. That's still an unknown.
But there's still a chance they may come in more than 50%.
There is a chance, a hope.
Yeah, we hope so, because that would
Yes.
make it more practical.
Well, that's huge. And that's kind of new information that we didn't have prior to, 14 seconds ago. But because we asked that question, when we were at the meeting, whether or not their funds would change any based on any of the changes that we did make. And, at that point, the answer was, was zero, was no. That's very important information to have as we kind of move forward and try to make the best decision.
I mean, we
Right.
certainly should make the case, especially given the way things are right now. And obviously, the less we have to put in, the better.
Right.
Right.
Right, right.
I mean, and especially if we're expected to bank money moving forward, it'll make it a lot easier if our initial outlay is lower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this is a huge conversation. Like this isn't something that, like this is a pretty big deal what we're talking about.
Agreed. And what is the timeline though, Mike? If we actually wanted to do this summer, when would we have to say yay or nay?
I think at your June 2nd or June 16th, is that the second Tuesday in June, right? I think at your June,
There, Mike.
I'm sorry?
Are you reading the stars there? What are you?
You're right. My calendar doesn't show through the aurora borealis. Where were we? June 16th, you are going to be presented with a request to accept the bid to hire a contractor to redo the pool. And Mike, when we talked with them today about the Mertha approach, we found out that if we place the order in June, the material may be here be here in October or November. So that was a little scary, but they said, we got a lot to do before that gets here. So even if it comes in that late, we can do this project and have your pool ready next June. And so, but if we wait till July to choose a contractor, I think it puts the whole thing in jeopardy. So we're sending out a RFP for prices. And I hope on June 16th, we can have a discussion about hiring someone to redo it. By then,
Yeah, I mean, but part of that discussion is going to be, it's not, we have to just be very clear with the public. We're accepting money that has strings attached that requires $50,000 a year outlay going forward. We can't even fix the sidewalks.
Right, and what I've asked Nick is for them to put together a business plan for the pool and see where the rates would have to go to support the debt service, the annual costs, and the banking of the money.
Perfect.
yep. And Eric, Matt told me today that probably tomorrow, he and Bobby will have that business plan pretty well done.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is, Nick, we may end up subsidizing it to some level. So the discussion will be what's acceptable. I mean, we've been subsidizing it to the tune of $25,000 a year without even taking it. That doesn't take into account the debt service from the past, or that's just
right.
operating costs.
Right.
Right.
Yep, that's right. And I hope, Eric, that with going back to the foundation, maybe that 50,000 amount can be adjusted downward, because that was based on a pool project that was estimated at over 4 million. And
Yeah,
now if we're at 3.1, we may be able to adjust that down.
Put that in half, that would sound a lot better.
I don't know if we can get it to that point, but yeah,
Yeah,
we're going
because
to
I
try to
think,
work.
what do they say? The operational costs, what do we got an estimate of what, $21,000 to $22,000 a year, which was the water, sewer, electric, and the gas.
That's going to be quite a bit of savings, Mike,
Yeah,
over what we spend annually now.
it really is.
It really is.
Right, and we've been losing, the Parks and Rec puts a lot of work into the pool every year, which costs us money. We've been losing water from the pool, which costs money. I mean,
We've been
really,
losing a lot of water.
we got a discount project, and we got a discount project the last time around, and so we've been paying the extra expenses that go along with that.
Yeah, the one thing, Mike, as we move forward with this project, and I mean, it's probably not the right venue for that, but we had issues with the pool slide, and I'm in this time, companies are definitely eager to jump in. They want the work and be able to start things, and we get these assurances that this pool is going to open on whatever Father's Day weekend, whatever that happens to be in 2021. And if it doesn't, then I don't want to have an issue that we had with the pool slides and be like, well, we didn't understand that there was clay there and all this other stuff, and hey, but you guys are supposed to owe us this amount of money because we did more work, and then Bill Lee comes in and says, well, you know what, we could pursue this and get our money, or we could just write it off. And I want to make sure that we're not in a position where we're writing anything off. That it is clear that these people have spent time there. They know what's there. They know that, what they're going to put in there, and that they're going to deliver a product that we're going to be able to turn over to, Parks and Rec and, the citizens of the city, on this particular date. And if not, then there's going to be, these are the repercussions. And, I don't want there to be, well, we got a lot of rain. And like, oh, well, tough shit. Like that's the contingency of giving us this date, and we just need to be able to move forward with that. I want our side to be as concrete as we can, as saying, regardless of what's there, like you've done your homework and you've given us, this is the estimate and this is the
Right.
date of what's going to happen. And you've got your contingencies already built into it. I don't want to eat your contingencies because, we got, locusts or something ridiculous.
I
There is
certainly
gonna be-
agree.
There is going to be a 17-year locust hatch this year, just so you know.
That's why I said it.
Oh, man.
Are we good, folks?
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Regular council meeting Tuesday night. Not a huge agenda. That we haven't been able to send it out because we've had to finish a number of items today. So tomorrow you should see a draft agenda. Well, then of course the final will be delivered as usual.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Awesome.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.